What movie would have ended too soon if a character acted rationally? Jurassic World. I don't know where the dinosaur is, so I'm going to casually look around his pen in person, and don't bother with the service entrances or anything. The large gate that can let the dinosaur out will work fine. Twilight. 16-year-old girl finds out her biology partner is a 150-year-old vampire who has been stalking her, runs fast and far. Alternately, 17-year-old dude becomes immortal, chooses to do literally anything besides repeat high school forever. I read a fanfic once in which a character from another story finds herself in the Twilight universe replacing Bella Swan. As soon as Edward's creepiness started, she told her father everything. The police were called and she got a restraining order against him. The whole thing lasted only a handful of paragraphs. Alien Covenant. Don't defy the don't land in this storm advice of the AI that's designed to be a billion times better than you in this one specific task of navigating. Don't take off your helmet on a strange planet. Don't trust an android that's surrounded by a city of corpses. Two identical androids. One wants to protect, one wants to kill. Let's not double check which survived and leave ourselves totally vulnerable to the bad one. You can't marry a guy you just met. Actually, yeah Elsa, you do bring up a good point. Hans, I'm not ready for this commitment yet. I'm sorry. Maybe we'll just date for a couple years instead. 50 Shades of Grey. I'm bad for you, Anna. Okay, cool. Have a good life. I'm into BDSM. I'm a virgin. See you later. I could go on. If only there were some red flags. If the original driver in Talladega Nights didn't decide to get a chicken sandwich halfway through the race, we would have never gotten to see Ricky Bobby go fast. Not that we have to have an in-depth analysis of Talladega Nights, but that logic doesn't exactly follow. The events would not have transpired as they did in the movie possibly, but there's no indication that, had that moment not occurred, Ricky Bobby wouldn't have become a driver in some other fashion. Gremlins. Don't buy some weird creature with apparently very specific rules, which the consequences of breaking are never explained. From the shopkeeper's son after the shopkeeper specifically says it's not for sale. Well, at least don't act surprised when they go on to destroy an entire town. To be fair, Rand Peltzer is kind of an idiot. I want a movie about just him and his crap inventions. I guess the movie wouldn't have exactly ended, but I always thought Dennis Nedry would have gotten away with it if he just didn't drive like an idiot to the dock in Jurassic Park. Me too. His glasses fogged up, but if he stopped for literally 10 seconds to clean them, he'd get away, sell the samples for whatever he was promised, and been a rich man. Not a movie, but Breaking Bad would have ended in first episode if Walt swallowed his pride and took the money he was offered. Don't forget, his insurance also covered the treatment, but not with the doctor he really wanted, so he had two options before jumping right to the cooking. Rambo. If the police chief wouldn't have been such an butt and accepted Rambo passing through his city, it would have made the movie like 30 minutes long. True, but from the chief's perspective, Rambo was just another bum for him to exert power over. The chance that he'd, well, pull a Rambo was pretty dang low, all things considered. Most folks in the armed forces are support with very little actual combat training after all. Frozen. I think about the parents seeing their daughters growing up miserable due to isolation and fear because of something they could easily fix by telling Anna the truth, and you know what? I'm glad they died. Shoot, let Elsa spend time with Grandpa Troll working on controlling and strengthening her control over her powers. 101 Dalmatians. On the night the puppies are born, Cruella comes to purchase them, only to find that they have no spots. Mongrels. No spots. The devil take them, she shouts. The housekeeper counters they'll get their spots. You'll see if she had just kept her dang mouth shut, Cruella would not have bothered to steal the puppies. Pongo and his family would live happily ever after. Things would not end so well for the other 84 Dalmatian puppies that were bought and paid for. Basically every romance movie ever made. They fall in love, they miscommunicate or misunderstand and thus break apart. Oh no, why not talk it out like adults? Because then the movie would end after the first 30 minutes. This is why I love 10 Things I Hate About You. It has all those rom-com cliches, but the movie is very upfront with the fact that both of the main characters are selfish, terrible people, so having those misunderstandings is more understandable, since, really, when a couple does that, it makes them seem selfish, terrible and undeserving of happiness. Crank. Sweet Jesus. If you ever have to rub out a top-tier hitman with the physique of a champion decathlete, do not, I repeat do not, inject him with a slow-acting experimental Chinese poison and leave a DVD of yourself gloating for him to wank to. Just don't do it. I forgive Crank for all its faults cause the movie doesn't take itself serious at any point. It was clearly a way over the top action comedy. Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I have to fight 7 evil exes in order to go on dates with a woman I barely know? Nope, not worth it. Star Wars would have been very different if everyone stuck with their gut and left Anakin alone. This kid had a very abnormal birth. His power levels look like they could be off the chart. Still, he is not interested in that. He just wants to be a pod racer and an engineer. How about we leave him alone and let him be the tech nerd he wants to be? Star Wars. I love this girl, Obi-Wan. You do realize that you can't do that as a Jedi, right? Why? I don't know. Because, young Padawan, we can only do other Jedi dudes, and we absolutely can't enjoy crap about crap. Not a movie, but Sons of Anarchy. The characters in that show seemed like they were intentionally making life harder for themselves. Juice made so many bad decisions it was painful to watch. Star Wars Episode 8. Simply telling Poe what the plan was would have cut out nearly 1/2 of the film. Episode 3 has a ton of ways it could be solved real quick. Strangely enough, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory would have been a lot longer if the characters had acted rationally. Oh, you're all good kids? I'll have to think longer about this. Or crap if Wonka wasn't a child killer mutilator and everyone was just fine with that. The Blair Witch Project. Let's go in the woods and see if there's a witch. Everyone no. Okay, you know what? Never mind. Atonement. In real life, the big sister would have taken the little sister aside and told her that if she didn't change her story immediately, she would kick the living crap out of her. Movie over 5 minutes later, everyone lives happily ever after. Battlefield Earth. Let's do anything at all except force feed this man animal every single freaking thing he needs to know to help him defeat US. Is that a blade I hear scraping the wall and coming towards me in a very slow pace? Better go check it out and say hi. Since I'm a girl, I won't even bother putting pants on first. Wreck-It Ralph could have been over a lot faster if Ralph had decided to not go try to win a medal, but instead just spent some time at the bar. The result would be the same. The other characters realize that without him, they don't have a game, so maybe they shouldn't be dongs. I would go further, it would have ended sooner if they just let him have cake and have his figurine be on top of the cake. They're not movies, but basically any Shakespeare play. Othello, just talk to your wife and sort things out. Macbeth, they're witches, don't listen to them. Romeo and Juliet, plan this crap out together before you do pretend to kill yourselves. etc. That's the entire point of Shakespearean tragedy. Each protagonist has a fatal flaw, and that flaw brings about their downfall. For Othello it was his crippling insecurity. For Romeo it was his impetuosity. For Macbeth it was his thirst for power, and so on. 127 hours. If the main character decided to let someone know where he was hiking, go with a friend, or not act like a goddamn idiot, he would have kept his dang arm. Just watch the film backwards, and it is an uplifting tale about an amputee finding an arm in the desert. Home Alone. If only the parents accounted for their own kids, or called up a neighbor, co-worker, some other adult to get Kevin. Kevin actually call the cops. Home Alone 2, the flight attendant actually check the ticket they are taking. The parents do call the cops, and the police write it off as a practical joke at first. When a cop finally does go to the house to check out what's happening, Kevin gets scared and hides. Kevin believes he wished his family away, and thinks the police are there to question him about their disappearance. The Jedi Council was really irrational to think that disconnect yourself with everything and never ever feel anything. Logic wasn't a terrible idea. Sure, it worked fine for most Jedi, but every time that one Jedi tries out the dark side and finds out that they really love it, they then go on to royally mess up the galaxy. Every Jedi that learned to balance their light and dark sides, and embraced their grey, almost never went on to a march of galactic conquest. In fact, those Jedi typically became the best, most powerful. That's not what the Jedi taught, it's how Anakin interpreted their teaching. The Jedi taught that one should be mindful of their feelings, but not to let them cloud their judgment, as opposed to the Sith, who taught that one should give into and pursue what they were most passionate about. 50 Shades of Grey. Oh, you won't let me hang out with my friends, nor visit my mother without supervision, and you want me to sign an NDA before we have sex? Nope, nope, nope. I'm out. Well, Anakin never would have turned if he didn't believe his dreams, I think. I might be too tired to get analytical about the tragedy of Darth Vader. He also had magic blood, which is why the space wizards abducted him. Jurassic World calls to check if dinosaur is in habitat from habitat instead of driving up and calling in the car. Nobody would have gone into the habitat and the dinosaur would not have got out. Kill Bill. Elle should have just killed the bride in the hospital. She was the most dangerous woman in the world who would stop at nothing to get revenge. Like, they literally buried this bee alive and she punched her way out. Even if there was only 5% chance of her getting out of that coma, they should have still killed her just to make sure. The end of Kill Bill 2 pretty much spells it out that Bill still loved her and wanted the chance to see her again even after all that he did to her to make her hate him. Bill regretted what he did, so he let fate decide instead of just letting Elle end her. Captain America: Civil War. I love that movie, but if they had just sat down and talked through it, a lot of things could have been avoided. Though I do suppose those tensions had just been building up a little too much. I for one would not be able to act rationally if I just found out the friend of one of my closest allies killed my parents. Raiders of the Lost Ark. If Indy doesn't go digging in the correct area, the Nazis don't get the Ark. The movie can literally stop when Indy and Salah figure out they are digging in the wrong place. Nah, I think the Nazis would have eventually have found the Ark, assuming they didn't lose patience with Belloc. The Well of the Souls looked to be about a couple of 100 yards from where the Nazis were digging. The Last Jedi. Hux could have blown up the Resistance ships with his fighters or support ships instead of letting them coast away for 2 hours. Holdo could have explained the plan to everyone and they would have been completely fine. Poe could have chilled out, and they would have been fine. Alien. This creepy pod thing is opening up. Maybe put it in a quarantine container or just do literally anything other than stick my face directly in front of it. Funny thing is that Sigourney Weaver's character was more rational than most people in horror action movies. She wouldn't allow the guy with an alien attached to his face onto the ship and was willing to let him die outside because she knew the alien might be a threat to the crew. In the second movie, she suggested nuking the aliens from orbit. Finding Nemo. Nemo isn't an idiot and doesn't touch the butt to look cool in front of his jellyfish friend and doesn't get lost, therefore no need to find him. He didn't do it to look cool. He did it in defiance of his dad being overbearing. If his dad wasn't such a mess, Nemo would never have touched the butt. Fargo. I should just swallow my pride and ask my father-in-law for the money. The end. Wait, why did he need money again? I always forget. He committed fraud. He took out a loan and used non-existent cars as collateral. I love that movie, but I'll admit I had to look it up as I couldn't remember either. Fight Club. If Tyler Durden wasn't a dang loon, it also would have ruined the movie for me. Narrator wakes up, all laundry is clean. Narrator wakes up, his checkbook is balanced. Narrator wakes up, he finds a mountain of freshly baked cookies. The Simpsons movie was all Marge's fault. She's the one who gave Homer the list of chores. The chore list got Homer and Bart onto the roof, which started the dare contest. The dare contest led them to wind up at Krusty Burger where they found that pig. The pig led to the pig crap silo being built, which eventually poisoned the lake and doomed the town. It's all Marge's fault. She should have known dang well that Homer can't be trusted to do a few simple chores. No Country for Old Men. Don't return to the scene of a crime to try and give some guy water who is surely dead already. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.